On today's Minute of the Apes.
Wait, you have the intro, right?
Did you have an intro?
I did, but I've forgotten what it was.
Okay, then let me do it.
Okay.
On today's Minute of the Apes, we don't have an intro.
Well, we had one, but he forgot.
Well, wait a minute. Let me think about this. No, I don't have one.
Exercise with an ape maker, human down. Then talks. With a divine bound. We are determined to know what the apes want. War or peace.
They are the good humans, it's a dead human.
And if it is man's destiny one day to be dominated, then, oh, please, God, let him be dominated by such as you.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time, and I go as fast as I can because it's Friday.
It's Friday.
And we had a very long, personal, friendly conversation about stuff. And
We
we're
had
ready to
half an in-between, basically.
We did have half an in-between. Well, maybe that's what we do at one point, half an in-between. But anyway, we had a friendly in-between that...
We just call that the tween.
Okay, we had a tween. And now we're ready to get back to apes. Because it's Friday, we want to wrap this up. Sean... Tell me what's going on with minute 25.
We start minute 25 with Caesar being led by the pens and ends with Caesar sharing his banana.
All right, let's take a listen to minute 20.
That's not sexual.
What's funny is that you said it, and my brain slowly got to it at the same time that you
Richard
started
starts
laughing.
smiling.
It was just a sort of cavalcade in my brain of, he shared his banana.
With 3.
Minute 25, Conquest of Planet Apes.
They're a bit uppity. I haven't fed them yet. Come on. Switch off. Switch on.
All right, as of minute 25, we have courtyards worth of gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, imported apes, Caesar, and a plant's worth of humans.
Caesar! That was sorry what you said. Caesar!
Does he have a salad?
I don't know. After sharing his banana, I might get tossed.
Damn it, I was trying to find a way to put tossed in there and you beat me to it.
I win!
You suck.
Yes!
Damn it.
So, do y'all see Faulty Towers ever?
been a
Years
bit.
since, oh my
It's
god,
been a
that's...
bit.
I was young then.
There's only 6 of them, so there's a scene where an American comes in. He wants a Waldorf salad, and I can't remember what's in a Waldorf salad. It's like walnuts, and,
It's
and
like
apples
walnuts and grapes
stuff like
and
that.
weird shit.
But,
Yeah. Waldorf. I mean, he's chopped up.
John
Put it in
Cleese
there,
has already sent the chef home, so he's trying to make stuff himself, and he doesn't know what's in his Waldorf salad. So he just walks out and he goes, "Oh, sir, I'm sorry, we're all out of Waldorf." So yeah, Caesar salad.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Gets tossed.
I like that was earlier. I at least acknowledged it was a long way to
A long way to a bad joke. All right.
So what happens in this minute?
They start dividing the apes up by species and putting them in their little pens, their little
Little peons.
their little
And the mini
hamster
meons and the
cages.
peons. It's a
Okay.
triptych.
And now, if you think about it, if they had made these now, it would have been a multi-layer thing where they could climb on different things. There would have been ropes in there. There would have been hammocks so they can lay in it.
Well, it's
Little-
that- it's that
Man, this
thing
goes
of
back on the
trees.
fact that it's a set. I mean, you can even look around and see like the spray paint of like, here's gray, here's blue, or trying to kind of.
and then the texture on the to make it look like stone. Obviously, this is a wood structure that they put shit on, but you look at it and it's got all these little pebbles, like somebody sprayed some texture on it. It almost looks like a popcorn ceiling.
Pop up the ceiling, yeah.
So,
you doing ceilings?
So what we do get outside of like fingerprints and Xerox and Princess phones is we get invisible walls.
Yeah.
We get cells that have like
future technology.
Yeah, this is actual for the first time to me. Future technology, not a helicopter.
right.
Like
It's kind of like the Star Wars Next Generation or Star Trek Next Generation force fields for the prisons,
right?
But without the shiny.
But
part.
without the shiny little CG moment to kind of put it over there. We've got kind of these weird like fluorescent lights around each of these little kind of triangular areas that lead into these cages, and Caesar's kind of moves into one briefly because they're chimpanzees.
Well, hang
and
on.
he goes,
Before he does
Wait.
that, they were talking about the apes being uppity. They were all.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, they're using terminology.
They're uppity now. You don't use that
back,
kind of.
this is the 70s, so this is them using terminology that I think is supposed to incite the audience,
evoke
the audience, saying, this is terms that were used for African Americans back then when they are not being quote unquote
compliant
in their place,
right? The moment I heard that, I thought too, I was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, that's a little on the nose. Yeah.
If Abby were sitting here with me and I had to explain that one, I mean, that's a.
Does she know uppity is a term? Does
No,
she know
that's
what
what
that means?
that's the reason I was saying that. That's a hard one. At least if you throw out the N word, obviously. In fact, we watched Black Klansman the other night, and she's like, "Does that ever make you tense when they say this?" I'm like, "Of course it does." I said, "But I grew up in an era where." It was said differently, and
music
so
a whole lot. And,
and I said, so it's more of a conscious decision, whereas just with you, you don't say it. Uppity would be a term for her that I would have to explain what it meant, and that in some ways, I think it's even as harsh as, if not more, because it was, man, we're describing you as you're not even a human being when we call you that.
You're stepping
that's a
out of your
disgusting
position.
thing to say.
It's almost like the Indian caste system where you're not supposed to go out of where you're born into.
I mean, if I say uppity, you know exactly what
you're
I'm
talking about.
I'm trying to think if you even use that in any connotation.
I
wouldn't,
but I would use it in this connotation because that's what's being done in the scene.
I think that when you start talking about people with ostentatious behavior, you could say uppity, like they're trying an upward class system. I think you could, but
ostentation doesn't have the same meaning. Like I don't catch the moments.
I'm juxtaposing it into that. I'm trying to find if there's a way, because I swear I've heard other ways, but it is such a harsh. I think for us growing up in the era that we did, the minute you hear uppity, you immediately associate it to that.
It's one of those things where it's the term, the word being used by certain people in a certain term. If I, as a person of power, a policeman, see a older African American person, and I go up to him and say, "Hey, boy, what's going on?"
Oh, you don't say boy.
You don't say boy.
Oh my God!
I can say boy. I can say boy to you as a white man. I can say boy to you as a white man, being younger than you.
Well,
but if I say boy to an
to be fair, Abby's got a couple of African American young men friends that now I'm going to flip over. She has a white kid that's a friend, and if I say he's a nice boy,
that's not offensive.
But even to Abby, I don't even say, if this one, who's one of the African Americans, I don't say he's a nice boy. I'm like, and I'll find myself saying he's a nice young man, and I'm sure she doesn't catch that.
Understand what you're doing,
but I can't allow myself to go down that path because I know that connotation.
So I can say, Richard, quit being so uppity, and that doesn't mean anything.
But it would still bother me because I know what the context of the word is. But there are also things that you could say to me as a gay person that I'd be like, it'd be different from where it came from. Yas Queen.
Yeah.
Sean said me Yas Queen. I'd be like, that's hilarious.
Meanwhile, somebody
I don't know
drunk
that
coming
term.
up saying, Yas Queen, I'm going to hit you. I mean, yeah.
I honestly don't know that term.
Yas.
What's going on? Girl?
I really don't.
Yeah. Well, so apparently yes has like the etymology of like 50 terms, but one of them is Yas, Y-A-S.
Oh, really?
So Yas. Ask Abby.
I will. That's one that I don't know, and I would never use that.
They're saying that, but anyway, what I'm saying is yes has like multiple meanings. You could say yes, you could say yeah, you could say yay, you can say yes, you can say
like if a confrontational straight man was coming up to you and said, "Hey, girl, we're going to talk about this."
Oh,
you have a problem. If I come up to you and say, "Hey, girl, let's go talk about this," that's totally different.
Well, I suppose it depends upon what we're talking about.
Well, yeah. Hey, girl, let's go talk about dinner.
But to be fair, I mean, and this is where it kind of gets into this whole thing, and I try to be as on point with anybody in these situations. But there have been many times while we're doing this this whole conversation over a podcast when I know you've turned me a girl, and I'm like, okay, and I don't give two fucks what you call me, and I love the fact that you and I can say these things. I don't know sometimes, and I do think fine, we're getting off apes, and we're getting into this.
The three white guys are going to figure out how to.
Yeah, but you have to have what I appreciate about you, and this is what I'm saying in this situation, is that you're at least accommodating enough to tell me whenever if I've stepped over a line and I need to pull back, and I'll go, oh, okay, didn't know that. Let me pull that back, and we'll do that again.
There are the things that I don't say. I don't say the N-word.
I don't either.
I don't refer to people as uppity, and I don't use the word boy specifically related to anybody that is black. Those are things that I just know that are off limits that I'm not going to do. It's not a level of respect that I want to give somebody. It's not what I want to share with somebody. It's not the person that I want to be. There are terminology that I have as a gay person that I will sometimes share with people that are gay and sometimes share with my close friends. And that behavior is kind of somewhat okay.
Right.
But I also have a barrier to which I recognize that when it's said to me outside of this context, it is condescending and demeaning.
Yep. And I think you're smart enough, obviously, to know were we to throw it out and say it in an incorrect manner, but you knew we didn't mean it as condescending. We were trying to assimilate into what had been said.
Correct.
You would go, oh, hey, whoa, don't do that. Do it this way. Because for me, one of the things I learned being a father of a girl, obviously being married to a woman, that one of my wife's big things is don't call me a girl. I'm a woman. Oh, that's a very fair point, and I can see how that's demeaning to you to be called girl because, you go back and watch Mad Men, and they're talking about all the girls in the office, but the men are over here.
Yeah.
Well, you're really differentiating. So we have to be open to these kind of things. And when they use a term in this film, like uppity, I think
Deliberately.
Dane
It was
had
intentional,
he had
he knew
his
what he was
social
saying,
things
yeah.
on his sleeve, and he knew if I put that term in, it is immediately going to make people go, oh, you're talking about blacks of this era.
Here's the thing I don't remember. I don't remember if it was a black person or a white person who said that.
There was a white person. There were two white guards.
Are there black guards in this?
Yeah, there are black guards.
The guard that leads him in, the keeper that brings him in to the cell where he gets shocked, it was a second guard that says, they're a bit uppity, I haven't fed them yet.
So wouldn't that be interesting? And I wonder if you make this film today, if you don't put the term uppity into an African-American. And that's actually a very interesting thing when they begin to use terms that have been used on them and they start to apply it to else, and you start seeing that hate permeates and it never stops.
I think uppity is a term more from our generation or older. I think it'd be more like, they'll learn their place.
But see, and I'm not even saying that. I'm saying if you just put the term into an African-American person, whatever your term is, if you gave them the term that had been meaning to demean them, if they're now using it, that would be something you're like, holy shit.
If you see an African-American person using this against the apes, because then
all of this is, and I think you can see where
that's making shit roll downhill, basically.
Yes, and I think you can see where we've fallen down the rabbit hill of how does this work, and how do you speak to one another, and how do you learn what's good, what's bad, and moving on. Dane is on to something in this film. Dane is on to the way that we treat each other has now descended upon animals. And when you start looking and saying we're treating animals with disrespect, yet the disrespect we're showing here is also the disrespect we're showing to one another in society, you got a very fucked up problem. And I think that we can pick on Dane, we can pick on Thompson for the falling apart of what the narrative is. Their message is on point. Their message is, these are subhuman. They are less than worth. They're nothing but a slave race. That's right.
They're pets.
So they're killing it with that. When they can make the three of us stop down and talk about what this means, they've done it right. Now, what I do think they've done wrong is I do think it's kind of funny. It's almost like Keystone Cops when one of them just shoves shoves Caesar into the invisible gate. Turn that off. We get into the problems of that whole thing.
You get into the whole I'm standing right next to you, Richard. Hey, Richard, turn the switch off. Can't I just do that myself? Hey, Richard, turn the switch on.
Right.
Wait, can't I do that as well?
He turns the invisible gate on, and then the guard gives him banana and says, "That's for keeping quiet." Like, we led him through this moment.
You didn't freak out during the whole tour that we gave you.
That's for keeping quiet. And then Caesar does something pretty amazing after that. He gets into the cell.